Look at that. You know what that is? That's a gate stone. It was found in New Mexico. Real quickly, I'll tell you about it. It's in most of my videos lately. And it's the Ten Commandments written in real Hebrew. And it was placed there about 3,000 years ago during the days of Solomon, when he sent out hundreds of people on ships to make colonies and bring back things and establish the colonies. And this is a gate stone that was found in New Mexico. And it was discovered around the late 1800s. And archaeology was really just a new thing. And it's a study of cultures and languages and people and architecture. And of course they dig up dead bones too, but they shouldn't be doing that. Archaeology. And this guy blundered into this lichen-covered stone. It was all covered with vegetation at the time. And he noticed some writing on it, and he knew that the Lakota lived all around this for many, many centuries, and the Lakota are native tribes, and they're probably, and we know that they're certainly descendants of the tribes of Yisrael. You know, the Apache and the Cherokee, Lakota, all of them. And anyway, he talked about it to people. They made a record of it. And then in the 1930s, somebody else blundered into it, and they'd probably been working on that same idea, and they went out to find it, and there it was. Well, recently it's been molested. It's not protected, but it's a stone. It's about life size. This is actually a blanket. You can order it. Natsarim. It's a Natsarim store. On Teespring. But I've got it propped up here. Some of you all have been ordering them and putting them on your wall as a tapestry. Anyway, it's real Hebrew, and it's pretty cool. It's got the name of Yahuwah written as we write it today. Not that Aramaic script that we brought back from Babel. It's actually not Hebrew, it's Aramaic. Anyway, today, what was I thinking? Oh yeah, I was wanting to discuss with you some interesting things that had to do with the Star of Bethlehem. What was that? Or should we say, who was it? Yeah. Well, anyway, let's look into it. The vision, as we try to understand these unusual movements of a star-like object that was seen by the Magi, we need to be aware of their background. Who were the Magi, and what did they see? The Hebrew word for the object they describe in Scripture, the Hebrew inspired word, is kakab, which can mean star. But it can be also refer to the lights in the heavens that we know to be other suns, or may also refer to heavenly beings known as angels or malachim, or sons of Elohim. They witnessed the creation of the physical realm that we live in now, these stars that's described in Scripture. In the book of Ayub, or Job, chapter 38, verses 6 through 7, we see this. Upon what were its foundations sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy? They're witnessing the creation of the earth. But why were the Magi looking for a star? And how did they know about its significance? We need to embrace the concept that the Magi, or magos, sorcerers, kashaf, or wise ones, In the Hebrew, they're called kakim, from the land of Babel, had been impacted by the prophet Daniel during Yehuda's 70 years of captivity. Daniel's status was legendary, as he was honored to become the chief of the Magi by the king of Babel, Nebuchadnezzar. The Aramaic term rab, like in rabbi, literally means exalted one or chief. The Magi, or the kakim, held Daniel in great eminence because their lives and position in Babel would have been swept away without the activity of Yahuwah within Daniel for accurately recalling and interpreting the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel was exalted to become the Rab Magus, the chief magician. It comes from the term rabbi, too, in their expressions of chief over the nobles and the wise ones. And this is the quote from Daniel 2, verse 48 and 49. Then the sovereign made Daniel great and gave him many gifts, and made him ruler over all the province of Babel, and the chief of the nobles, over all the wise ones, or kakim, of Babel. And Daniel asked of the sovereign, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the work of the province of Babel, and Daniel in the gate of the sovereign. Unquote. These wise ones in Babel surely investigated the writings of Daniel for generations and gleaned from other inspired writings that related to Daniel's dedication to the Elohim of heaven and earth, Yahuwah. Yahuwah is his name. It's amazing. Beautiful name. The prophecy. By studying the prophecies in the scriptures, they knew a great king was to come, a Mashiach, also referred to as Shiloh in Genesis Bereshith 49, verse 10. Numbers 24, verse 14, reveals secrets concerning latter days, and while searching out secrets from these texts, there was a prophecy to be discovered from Balaam involving a star that was to come out of the tribe of Yehuda in Yisrael. And this is the quote from Numbers 24:17. Quote, I see him, but not now. I observe him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Yisrael, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and shall destroy all the sons of Sheth. Unquote. Malachim, or angels, are referred to as stars in Jacob 38, verse 7. That's Job. And are manifested with brilliant light on many occasions, such as their appearance to the shepherds on the night Yahusha was born. Those shepherds were surrounded by the kabod of Yahuwah. That's the emanation of light and manifestation of his presence. That's at Luke 2, verse 9, which is the Shekinah, the presence of Yahuwah. You can also research another related word that's Greek, theophany. It's a manifestation of a deity. This radiant light was the Shekinah kabod, the nesting place of the name of Yahuwah. The star seen by the Magi was the physical manifestation of the presence of the name, coming into the world of men as a man. And it guided them for approximately 2 years, so they could bring their offerings to the newborn king. Yes, Yahusha. They didn't arrive on the night he was born. This is important to understand. It was not a comet or a planet or a sun, because it moved, and it stopped, and it stood over the house where the child was. The house in Bethlehem wasn't a stable, wasn't a manger. That was when he was born. He was living in this house at about the age of 2 years old. To them, and to any secular student of ufology today, It would have been an unexplainable phenomenon to see this star moving. It's important to understand too that that's why Herod killed all those babies that were 2 years of age and under, because they weren't there on the night of his birth like all these liars tell you. They show you, and they reach children with these lies by showing them Magi showing up on the night of his birth. It was just the shepherds. Now this appearance of this star was a prophesied sign, and they were selected to partake in its fulfillment. What is even more peculiar is that it seems the Magi were the only ones that could see it. And we know they didn't travel at night. I mean, who would? They were traveling in the daytime, and they could see it. But no one else seemed to notice it. It doesn't say that, but it's obvious. It's logical. We know that Elisha could see what his servant could not see in 2 Kings 6, verse 17. And the Sanhedrin could not perceive what Stephen could see, Acts 7, verse 56. The star was a vision, a selective manifestation seen only by the Magi. Although they were Persian at that time, because Koresh had defeated the Babylonians, they were Persian astrologers by now. And their science did not predict this star. It was predicted by the word of prophecy, not constellations. Don't buy that stuff. That's crazy. Tradition calls this manifestation the Star of Bethlehem. But Scripture states that it was Yahusha's star, a vision of the Almighty. Numbers 24, verse 16. You will see this in the question that they asked of Herod in Matthew 2, verses 1 and 2. Quote, and Yahusha, having been born in Bethlehem, or Bethlehem, of Yehuda in the days of Herod the sovereign, see, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born sovereign of the Yahudim? For we saw his star in the east, that's where they were, and have come to do reverence to him, to worship him, unquote. In case some of you may be confused over directions, the meaning of in the east simply means that they saw his star while they were in the east. From their vantage point, the star guided them in a western direction. This is why the first sentence states that they were Magi from the east. The manifestation of the Shekinah kabod, the manifestation of the light to the Magi, had no relationship to any alignments with the zodiac, like Virgo or Betula, or flocks of birds in flight, or prognostication from bones, or any other kinds of false wisdom. Their knowledge of what was to watch for came solely from the inspired texts written from Daniel in chapter 9, and in Bereshith, or Genesis 49, and in Numbers chapter 24. It did not have to be dark for them to see the star as it guided them, because they were traveling during the day. Otherwise, they would have fallen into a pit or a ravine or something. The star was a heavenly messenger, the Shekinah, the dwelling place of the name of Yahuwah. Any light in those days was called Aish, and it looked like, they called it by the name of fire, because it looked like fire was the only source of light to them. As the tongues of fire that alighted on the heads of the first Natsarim. It wasn't really fire, though. It was the name that was indwelling them, that was emanating this radiation, this light. Another manifestation of the name was the pillar of fire, or Aish, that guided and protected the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, during the Exodus. And it was also the strong arm of Yahuwah, manifesting his presence. The Egyptians didn't stand a chance against that fire, that light. Exodus 23, verses 20 and 21 says, see, I am sending a messenger before you to guard you in the way, and to bring you into the place where I have prepared. Be on guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression, for my name is in him." Unquote. The Magi were not the first to be guided by the Shekinah, kabod. At the appearing of Yahusha, when he regathers his bride to himself, the whole world will see the sign of the son of Adam. It will be appearing like lightning, stretching from the east to the west, out in deep space along the equatorial region, more than likely, because every eye will see him as the earth turns. Whatever many teachers may believe about the second coming, the fact is established from Yahusha's words that it will be after the distress that he will send forth his messengers to gather us. Matthew 24, verses 27 through 37. "For as the lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For wherever the dead body is, there the eagles will be gathered together." Eagles are the reapers. After, the seraphim, the burning ones, taking out the weeds. The weeds go first. "And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then the sign of the Son of Adam shall appear in the heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the Son of Adam coming on the clouds of the heaven with power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and it puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these, know that he is near, at the doors. Truly, I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this takes place. The heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. But concerning that day and the hour, no one knows, not even the messengers of the heavens, but my Father only. And as in the days of Noah, so also shall be the coming of the Son of Adam be." Unquote. It's getting kind of weird because they're parading in the streets with their gayness. And that's certainly one of the signs of the end times too. And the guy they call James, or Yakub, chapter 5, verses 7 and 8 say, "So brothers, be patient until the coming of the Master. See, the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You too, be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Master has drawn near." Unquote. There's something we have to remember from those words too. The fruit that he's looking for, what is it? Isn't it the obedience to the Ten Commandments? His covenant, the eternal covenant? It was never the Star of Bethlehem. It was simply where it led the Magi. That's where it led them. It was the star of Yahusha. And what was the star of, or who was the Star of Bethlehem? A caravan of Babylonian magicians from the east described a star that apparently could only be seen by them, evidenced by their statement, quote, "We have seen his star from the east," unquote, Matthew 2. When they arrived in Jerusalem and spoke to Herod, they announced what they saw. A normal reaction would be, "Show us the star." Instead of looking for the star, Herod sends for the scribes to learn where the Mashiach would be born so he could kill him. The day of Yahuwah is coming. Atheists and all those not obeying the commandments of Elohim, even by believing, they have to obey. They're all idolaters. placing their opinions above the word of truth. These will be the dogs described at Revelation 22, verses 14 and 15. The dragon is enraged at those who obey the commandments of Elohim and testify of Yahushua. Revelation 12, verse 17. The wrath of Yahuwah is drawing near. So turn back and obey, or be taken from the midst of the wheat on the day of Yahuwah. The wheat stays. The unrighteous are burned, and we'll watch them. Psalm 91 tells it. 1,000 will fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you, because he will send his messengers to protect you, so that you do not even stub your toe. What is highly thought of among men is an abomination in the sight of Elohim. The name J-E-S-U-S is an uninspired word and an abomination because it's a fake. It's not his name. It's only recent. It's less than 500 years old. But it's highly esteemed among men, and it's an abomination to Yahuwah. Read Luke 16, verses 14 and 15. His branches, his Natsarim. He said, I am the vine, you are the Natsarim. Ani hagafen atah ha-Natsarim. We know, because he's awakened us. Become one of us. And they're being awakened on earth, everywhere now, before his coming, as ambassadors, for the work of the restoration to favor. Be restored to favor. Obey him. Turn to him. Obey his commandments. We warn the inhabitants of the earth just as the first Natsarim did in their letters. Read Yirmiyahu 31, verse 6, and especially Malachi 4, verses 1 through 6. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the wedding supper of the Lamb. Bye.